The Nazis forced 3 people to place apples on their heads. An elderly man complied. One man refused and instead bit into the apple, preferring to die full if death was inevitable. Enraged, a Nazi raised his gun about to pull the trigger when a boy began reciting a poem. Recognizing the German poem, the Nazi police spared their lives. A soldier reported they were 1 short of their daily death quota. The Nazis stopped 2 men carrying a body. One man was too terrified to move. A Nazi threw his hat towards the wall, telling the man to fetch it. The man took a couple of steps. The story unfolds in Auschwitz concentration camp. The protagonist Tadeusz is among the first prisoners here, where lives are as expendable as ants. Jews wouldn't survive 2 weeks, priests a month, and others no more than 3 months. Their only escape was the crematorium's chimney. At night they slept in rows on the ground. By day they endured grueling physical labor, with any slowness met with brutal beatings. Corpses littered the ground. To keep warm, Tadeusz stuffed a shroud into his clothing. Speaking during work was forbidden, under threat of discovery by the guards. Each meal was just a pitiful spoonful of swill, and even that could be stolen in a moment of inattention. Tadeusz caught a boy who nearly fell, marking their first encounter. During work, the boy recognized Tadeusz as Warsaw's finest boxer. Tadeusz told him that neither he nor Warsaw mattered here. Survival was the only priority. One day, while delivering chairs to the Nazis, Tadeusz seized the moment to hide some apples in his clothes when the room was empty. Tadeusz shared the apples with the boy. After a single bite, the boy passed his apple to a frail old man. Tadeusz approached, insisting the apple was for the boy, and offered another. Before the boy could take a bite, the Nazis discovered them, and all 3 were taken to the wall, where the old man was beaten to death. At night, they were herded like cattle into a room with a large chimney. Soldiers told them to undress for a shower, promising a hot meal afterward. Once they were inside, a soldier poured a bottle of liquid from the roof, and soon the room echoed with agonized screams. Such horrors occurred nightly, with Tadeusz lying awake, dreading he might not see another sunrise. A guard bit into a sausage, then carelessly threw it to the ground. 2 men scrambled for it, only to be brutally kicked. The guard made them fight for the sausage, but starvation had sapped their strength. One man was knocked down, and as he moved to claim the sausage, the guard announced it was just a test. The guard pointed at the boy. Tadeusz stepped in to shield him. The man's consecutive punches were effortlessly dodged by Tadeusz. The guard pushed the man aside and with all his might swung a punch, but ended up falling to the ground. The guard was about to strike Tadeusz with a shovel when an officer passing by stopped him. The officer decided to have a match with Tadeusz, to continue until one of them bled. The officer was a boxing champion from Hamburg in 1938. They faced off on a large rock, the officer in a fighting stance, while Tadeusz merely raised his fists. Knowing this was the etiquette of boxing, the officer touched gloves with Tadeusz, signaling the start of the match. The officer's rapid punches were all easily dodged by Tadeusz. After several rounds, Tadeusz saw an opening and landed a punch that drew blood from the officer. The guard picked up the shovel again, but the officer not only stopped him but also rewarded Tadeusz with bread. Finding such a worthy opponent delighted the officer. Tadeusz was so formidable because before his capture, he was Warsaw's boxing champion, known in the boxing world as Little Teddy for his natural agility and evasion. Tadeusz brought back a lot of bread, offering a piece to the boy, who in turn gave it to someone else. Seeing this, Tadeusz broke off a small piece for the boy and gave the rest away. To add entertainment, the Nazis set up a ring in the camp and brought in a professional boxer from outside. Initially, Tadeusz, out of practice, could only dodge, but after several rounds he quickly got into the groove and cornered his opponent, leaving him unable to move. Tadeusz not only won the match, but also secured a lighter job and a large supply of bread and food. All he needed to do was train well and win every match. While others worked, he practiced in the stables, filling buckets with water for weight and punching bags to strengthen his arms. The nightly tragedies in the shower room continued, and bodies hung on the barbed wire. Tadeusz kept training, his body harboring an unexpressed rage. In the ring, he won match after match, becoming a beacon of hope for the prisoners. However, this drew the ire of an officer, who decided to humble Tadeusz. A hefty man arrived at the camp for Tadeusz's next match. Their weight classes were mismatched. Fortunately, the heavy man lacked boxing skills and relied on brute force. Tadeusz's agile dodging and timely punch knocked the hefty man down, inciting wild cheers from everyone. After the match, he distributed bread and fruit to everyone. In that moment, he was like a true champion, providing everyone with confidence and hope. That morning, seeing piles of transported bodies, Tadeusz felt that winning matches couldn't change anything in the camp. He no longer wanted to fight, but the boy told him that the fight was no longer just his. He was fighting for everyone, for their collective spirit. On Christmas night, prisoners played the piano beneath the gallows as Nazi officers and their families listened with pleasure. The boy gave a doll to the girl he liked, who joyfully accepted it and gave him a kiss. Tadeusz witnessed all of this. The girl was dragged to the front of the shower room. A soldier approached, pulling off her cap and ordering her to strip or be shot. Seizing a moment of distraction, the girl grabbed the soldier's gun and shot him dead. The girl was killed in a hail of bullets. Witnessing this, the boy ran frantically towards the stables. Tadeusz urged him to return to his work post quickly. An officer, accidentally injured, came for treatment and saw the boy, demanding he administer an injection. The boy, only there for 2 days, was clueless. After that incident, the boy vanished, leaving Tadeusz deeply concerned for his safety and searching for him daily. Tadeusz saw a soldier brutally beating a prisoner, hailed as a German boxing champion. Tadeusz immediately went to the officer's office, requesting a match with the German champion with the boy's release as the condition. He threatened to boycott any future boxing matches if the officer refused. Right up until the match was about to begin, Tadeusz was still searching for the boy. The German champion towered over him. Their fight was mismatched, with Tadeusz's punches barely reaching his opponent's head. Despite being knocked down, Tadeusz quickly got back up to continue. During the intermission, the officer offered Tadeusz a jug of water, which he drank without hesitation. Soon after, he felt dizzy and in severe stomach pain, collapsing to the ground. The officer had poisoned the water, fearing a loss of face if the German champion were defeated. Tadeusz knelt vomiting, insisting on continuing the fight. The badly injured boy was dragged in. The officer ordered them to fight, with the boy's hands wrapped in barbed wire. Fighting would surely lead to death, but refusal would result in execution by the officer. Tadeusz refused to fight, and all prisoners removed their caps in solidarity. Tadeusz told the boy to strike him, but the boy turned to face the German soldiers instead. Tadeusz was knocked unconscious and hung in the square with a sign around his neck. The next day, he was revived with cold water and released. Staggering into a cremation pit surrounded by numerous other pits, he lay there in despair, seeing no hope for survival. He spotted a charred doll, the very one the boy had given to the girl. Enraged, he vowed revenge for the boy. Clutching the doll, he climbed out of the pit. The boxing matches continued, now with inexperienced prisoners as the contenders, with Nazis betting on their endurance. Tadeusz, barely able to walk, made a dramatic entrance into the ring, unable to raise his arms or clench his fists after being hung in the square. He could only dodge the incoming punches. Despite the opponent's inability to land a hit, Tadeusz smiled mockingly, infuriating his adversary. After being knocked down, Tadeusz got up, continuing to smile defiantly as if to taunt his opponent's lack of skill. Tadeusz's agile dodging frustrated his opponent, who landed a few punches when Tadeusz stopped dodging, smiling even as blood filled his mouth. The opponent, enraged and irrational, threw another punch. Tadeusz headbutted the opponent's incoming fist, breaking his wrist. Seizing the moment of his pain, Tadeusz knocked out the champion, winning the match. An officer, recognizing his exceptional skills, decided to take him away from the camp. Standing in the warm sunlight, Tadeusz felt no warmth, knowing he was to continue fighting in other camps. After the war, Tadeusz returned to Poland to become a boxing coach. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this.